Hey everybody, JJ here, back for another Saturday of Zoom networking. Our guest speaker today is none other than one of Pace's rock stars. I'm referring to Pace Morby, the master of creative finance for real estate today. And Pace's community is the Sub2 community, which is the number one real estate program in the country, bar none. Today, we have one of Pace's rock stars, phenomenal young man, my good friend, Mr. Faizul Islam. Faiz, how are you?
I am doing excellent. Thank you for having me, JJ.
Oh, pleasure to have you on today. Hey, for those that don't know you, what part of the country are you from?
I live currently in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So the East Coast. Well, sandwiched between the East Coast and the Midwest.
And so we talked a little bit the other day. We got acquainted. You're not originally from Pittsburgh. You were raised overseas?
Yes, I'm actually an immigrant. I would like to say, for me, the perfect American dream. I came here when I was 16 for college, and I enrolled through school, and I got my degree. And it took a while. It took me a decade to figure out that the regular W-2 was not a good fit for my fulfillment. So I took the plunge and went into real estate full-time last year.
Yeah, I think, gosh, to have met you and see what you're doing and have heard what you're doing, yeah, it couldn't be a more perfect fit. Now, did you have any education that led itself to real estate, or was your education in a different field? What was your background before real estate?
It's a good question. I actually kind of always was decent at math. So when I actually got here, I was undecided as my major. And then I met someone and he's like, you know what do you get at? I was like, math. They're like, go for engineering. So I went to engineering school. I went through electrical engineering school. After college, I went into corporate IT because that was an easy job. And I, put my time in for about a decade. And that's been my background. So, but all those skill sets throughout my engineering degree, engineering schooling, and my job has really, showing up in places in my business.
Now, with the deals that are coming to you, are you just waiting for other people, or you have your team and you're just waiting for your team, or like are you JVing or participating with other Sub2 people?
That's a good question. So in 2021, 2022, early 2022, we just spoke for a lot of the big people, right, within Sub2, because like we just had the connections, like we knew exactly where to send and to get answers and stuff. So we made a lot of our partners a lot of money. But when the whole thing changed, we kind of, we had to kind of like, out of those 16 deals, like I think 3 or 4 of them were for our partners. So we kind of like felt ashamed because we couldn't, produce for them. And that was one of the things that, made us really look at, inside and see what we could improve. So since October, we have not JV'd with anybody else. But that doesn't mean that we're not open to it. What we have realized is it's oftentimes a lot of these, our partners does not have the same level of stringent underwriting process. But like, since we have done it so many times, we're really quick to say whether a deal works or doesn't work.
We got a question here. I'm going to bring somebody on. Stephen Delgado, you are on with Faizul. You want to ask your question there?
You mentioned earlier that you were at one point looking for a partner and there was things that weren't your strengths. So I want to know what your strengths were and what were the strengths that you were looking in your partner that were obviously some of the weaknesses that you had that you didn't want to have to handle.
If I'm given a task that requires a deep level of like sitting in one place and doing the same thing over and over again, not even so, but like really meticulous work, I kind of suffer at that, right? Because I'm not good at it. I've never been really good at that kind of stuff. So the deep level of implementation stuff, I'm really bad at. So it's like, say, imagine if I had to go through, we're hiring now. So we just posted a position for acquisition manager, and Indeed, we got like 400 applicants for our job thing.
Wow.
And it's, if I had to go through those 400 applications, I would be very unhappy at my job. My partner loves that, right? He goes through it, and for him, it's just not an issue, right? He has a lot more patience, right? I think that's a huge thing that he has. You know, for me, I would say I can be a little bit of impatient, especially when I get into the work mode. You know, I get pretty impatient. I want my updates quicker. Obviously, well, you know, that's just how I am. You know, that's been the biggest thing, because that's a huge thing that you need in a business. In business, is like having someone that's super patient, who's going to actually really take an idea through to implementation phase, right? The whole of implementation phase. And you know, a lot of people call them integrators or whatnot, right? Like, you know, like the deep level integration stuff. On the flip side, what I'm really good at is actually almost seeing the milestones, and how exactly we're going to get there, right? If we do this, this is going to happen, and kind of predicting those things. I'm decent at doing that. Also, I feel like my intuition is pretty spot on with a lot of this stuff. I remember sometime earlier this last year, I told my team exactly what was going to happen, even though we didn't react to it, right? We knew exactly what was going to happen, and it's happening now. And there's smaller things right around the same stuff. I also am good at architecting systems. I just do not enjoy implementing them.
So it makes sense why you're a visionary. Did it take time to transition to trying to find someone that had those strengths that were some of your weaknesses? Was there any pride in that process? Like, how did you go about knowing, like, all right, I can't do this all by myself. I need to make sure I have X, Y, and Z in my corner.
Was there a pride issue ever? No. This is a company culture that we've kind of recreated, where anybody can come up and tell us that we're wrong, but they just have to have a very, you know, valid reason. Like one of my virtual assistants can come over and say, "Hey man, you're wrong," right? There's no ego, man, really, right? I just want a valid reason, because we're really a part of the same team, right? Okay, so there's no ego at all. So a lot of people get stumbled by greed or selfishness, because they don't want to share. They're like, well, I can do this by myself. And I think, you know, I can't judge everybody for what situation they're in, but I think that's very short-sighted. Sometimes you go way, 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 way further by just sharing, because you're eating out of a bigger pie. And even though your share percentage is less, you end up eating a lot more.
As things have changed, are you still going to say wholesaling? Are you looking at multifamily? A lot of people are talking about multifamily these days. Is there a difference when you're dispoing or underwriting the deals? How dramatic is it? All different from what you know of single family to multifamily, and does that have any bearing on what you're doing?
I actually don't know too much about multifamily, guys. So I'm a horse with blinders, and I'm a horse with blinders for a reason, personal reasons again, is because I know if I keep doing one thing 5,000 times, I'm going to be better than someone who does 5,000 things one time, right? Bruce Lee says it, right? So I know that, and I've seen successful people, and that's a common theme, right? A lot of people may run into, and I've had that issue before, where I ran into, you know, oh, this is a new thing. Let me just try this because it seems like the best idea right now. And kind of like try to take that out of my like outlook in life. I know if I keep doing this, but I do have a plan. I don't want to be doing wholesaling all my life. I just want to get really, really good at it. I think this is a good time if you have some of the funds and the team and the structure and the processes to really create some space, because there's a vacuum here, because a lot of the players have kind of left, didn't have good systems, they got lazy, or they just got scared, right? Like if you can set yourself up and then kind of like survive and thrive through this time, the golden age is going to come back again. There's going to be another era, and you want to really like create that space, and you'd be in a place to dominate your competition, which I really hope to do. But hey, look, this is an active side of business. Where's my passive side? So I will still buy stuff right now. If there's any creative stuff, I will not keep it as a long-term rental or anything short-term. I don't want any management, because that is a completely separate business, man. Like anybody that owns rentals, you need to have structure. Then I just don't have the time or the human resources to focus on that. So I'll wrap those deals and sell them, which I've been doing. So I've been wrapping some deals. Like I have one in Houston right now. I have one in Midland that I might wrap. I have one in Pittsburgh that might wrap.
And for those that don't know what wrapping is, people on YouTube, maybe someone on the call that's new. For those that don't know what wrapping is, can you briefly explain what a wrap is?
Yeah, so essentially, it's basically when you buy the property, there's a debt obligation on that property, right? Whether it's a sub-2 or a seller finance, you're just creating another debt obligation on top of that debt obligation, like a wrapper. But that debt obligation is from another person to you, where the first debt obligation could be from you to either a bank through a sub-2, or it could be from you to a seller if it's a seller finance, or it could be a hybrid where both of them are there. But you're just creating another debt obligation where essentially you can make money in two different ways. You can make money on the difference in the entry fee, which could be the down payment, and you can make money because the rate for you to the bank, or you to the seller, or you to the bank and the seller is actually less than the rate that someone else would be paying you.
Edgar Alexandre, you are on with Faizul Islam. What's your question, my friend?
Faisal, I like when you mentioned that, you better do 5,000 times one thing good at it than, doing 5,000 different things and not being good at all. And when you mentioned about buyers' avatars, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
We have few primary types of buyer avatars, and then a few subcategories of buyer avatars within those primaries. Buyer avatar essentially means what kind of buyer they are, right? So let's talk about seller avatars, and it's a little more common knowledge, right? Seller avatar could be someone in pre-foreclosure, has been behind on their mortgage, about to lose their house. That's one seller avatar. Another seller avatar could be has about 2 rentals, never liked being a landlord, really wants to get rid of those properties because they've had issues, right? One other seller avatar could be inherited this property or about to inherit it if it's a probate, have no emotional connection to the property, who wants to cash out and make money, right? So those are seller avatars. Now, buyer avatars could be, one of the landlord buyer avatars needs to make about 8.5% gross yield on a property that they buy, net in, right? For them to all in price. One of them could be they need to make about 6 percentage cap rate on rental property. Another landlord type could be needs to make about they want to do the 0.1% rule, which a lot of people, you guys have heard probably from Bigger Pocket Days, 0.1% rule. That means if you buy a property for $120,000 all in, you better get $1,200 rent. Right? That's the 1% rule. Another landlord avatar could be needs to cash flow about $250 a month. Right? These are different avatars. Here's the funny thing. If you analyze a deal using these different types of avatars, you will see that what you can pay for a property, if you build in your assignment fee, becomes different. So when you actually intake your buyers or you talk to your buyers, you can find out like what they're looking for. Because here's, through experience, I know that funds will buy it either at a gross yield or a cap rate. Cap rate is a little more challenging because you have to have real numbers and stuff, but you can just estimate like, 40% expense. Again, this is not a, something that we can go deep in this call. But that's how I know that stuff. I can know that, okay, maybe this mom and pop shop buys rentals over here. They only need to make $200 per month. Right? I never know which is going to be higher till I have those calculators built out. That's just landlords. Now let's talk about some different avatars about fix and flippers. Fix and flippers that use their own own money, different numbers. You can pay different amount for that because they're using their own money. Ones that are they have their own crew. That's a different number because they're paying them hourly, right? They're not. Right, it might be cheaper. It's ones that are their own realtor, that's cheaper. Now imagine someone that has their own crew, uses their own money as their own realtor. They're gonna make a lot more for a property, so you can sell it to them for a higher likely.
Or was your hand up from before?
No, it's the same one. It's a different one. So you mentioned about wrapping. You said they're creating a debt obligation on top of the current debt obligation. Is that just on the note of the house? Is that it could be you're adding that as the down payment could be one of those things? Is it just adding something to that deal?
Yeah. Let me just use an example, right? This is real life example. It's on the market right now for us. So we bought a house from this individual. This is a hybrid, so which is fantastic. We bought a house subject to and hybrid, and we gave them money at close of escrow. So we are buying the house for $134,000. We gave the seller $5,000 at close, and he financed us no balloon. This is an important part. You don't want to have balloon when you wrap. He financed about $9,000, and the rest is a sub-2 on VA loan. Rate of the loan is 2.8. So essentially, the loan was like 115 or so. I don't remember. Don't hold me to if the math doesn't add up. But like the rest of it was, part of it was seller finance on the equity, and then part of it was cash at close. So we took that house. House doesn't really need anything. We are literally taking that house. We put it on the MLS with our realtor, who is basically knows people that will buy wrap buyers, and your wrap buyers are essentially, a lot of them are undocumented individuals who love the idea of home ownership, but can't really go through the system because they're undocumented, unfortunately. So we have it on the market at 185. Someone needs to pay 20% to buy that house, which is like $36,000. And So let's say 185 minus 36, about 150. So, and we're selling at a 9% rate, right? So essentially we're making about, so our entry was say $5,000 plus
The
closing
difference right
costs,
there
like
is
$8,000.
51K.
I'm sorry?
The difference right there is 51K between the
Right. So that's just like the number, but the number is actually way bigger because we're getting about, so entry one versus entry two. Let's call it entry A to B, and then B2C is the one that we're selling to. Entry was about $7,000 for us, $8,000, because cash to close $5,000 and closing costs $8,000. And then over there, we're getting about 36, but we're paying our realtor about 6% on the 185,000, which is, I don't know what the number is, but it's right around, maybe we're pocketing about net 15,000. But the real money is actually made on the difference on the payment that we pay the bank versus they pay us, which is, I think, right around 700, 800, 900 bucks, maybe 1,100 bucks. I don't know. I don't remember. So you can make, so this is why we like wrap, and we don't have to worry about if anything breaks, any of those stuff. There's no real management in place, and we have a special warranty deed. So if they mess up the property, we can take back.
Okay, as long as it's within those. Okay, I got you. Perfect. Thank you.
You are on with Faizul Islam. What's your question?
Hey, Faisal, I was just wondering who's managing, who's working those loans? You know, when you wrap something like that and you have to make a payment to the bank, and then you have someone who bought the wrap that's making a payment to you, who's managing all of that?
So my partner is right now, but we have a bookkeeper that we're bringing in. We have an accountant team that we're also bringing in, because like we realize that new levels have new devils, and we really need to buy our time back and then somehow multiply it, because everybody works for 24 hours. So man, it's a struggle, but you know, we're not sad about these struggles, because these are good problems. That means we're just trying to buy more of our time back, because we put in on a daily basis, guys, 10 to 12 hour days every day. Well, not on weekends, but like I end up working about 70 to 80 hours just in business right now, because I'm building. It's in the building phase. Once I have a son, once I have a team, I can step out. And again, which was my main thing that I wanted to say, is I'm building this now so I can take the money and do multifamily later on down the line. But I'm not really focused at it right now. I'm not really looking at it. None of those things.
Okay. So when you guys typically receive a lead via like the wholesale process, are you typically looking at it from a wholesale perspective? And then if it doesn't work from a wholesale perspective, you're looking at it from the eyes of like a creative perspective and trying to work it any way you can?
Yes. So the way we look at every opportunity is, what does the seller need first, right? If it really makes sense for the seller to sell to us, because what has been pretty successful is our realtor referral program, where we have partnered with realtors in every market that we're in. And if they actually need to sell the house, but wholesale doesn't work, creative doesn't work, and they must sell the house, and they need to sell the house, or it's nice for them to sell the house, we actually put them in our realtor workspace and gets referred to them, and they manage that stuff. And if it ever needs to be kicked back to us, they kick it back. But we don't try to push something through a lens where, well, we're going to try this first and then that first. We just find out what their problem is, and then find out what their situation is, how it's impacting them, and then figure out what's the best solution for them, and just recommend that. Sometimes we tell them, hey, you shouldn't sell the house to anybody. You're good.
What do you mean by your realtor workspace? What is that?
Well, okay, and it's basically, we're some leads should be actually sold on the market. So we have a contract with realtors in our markets where if they actually get the listing and it goes to close of escrow, we get about 33% of their net commissions. So we try to convert them into some form of profit, no matter what, as long as they're selling, and if we can help them, if we're somehow touch them, and because of that, they're selling, whether through us, we're making money, but if it's not through us and through our realtor partners, we make money when they actually sell.
And are you guys doing direct to seller? Is that your approach? You're doing direct to seller outreach and figuring out what the needs of the seller is, and then if it seems like it's something that needs to go through an agent or would work best on market, you guys are referring the deal to agents. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So we build out the relationship first. So sometimes we're in one of our Texas markets. In Texas, you can't underwrite unless you have MLS. So the ones that have given us MLS access, they're our friends. And we kind of like work with people, just like like anybody else. Even like realtors, we really look at people that would be quick to our replies and are extremely diligent and are conscientious in what they do. And we look for those qualities. And essentially, those are the people that we actually sign contracts with, where any lead that we send them, if they get it at a listing, they will close it. We also make sure that in our contract, they cannot try to, if it doesn't work out, they have to kick it back. And we control that using our workspace, because one of the things that we set expectations on is, hey, you got to use our CRM to track the whole thing. If you don't want to use it, you get lazy, that's fine. You're not going to get any more.
What CRM do you guys use?
We love Podio because of the customizations that we can do. It just fits our business. We've been able to just make Podio work.
Okay, cool.
Everything else just didn't work. We went through a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's the future hold for you? What are you guys looking to do now? I know you said you're going to stay in your lane, so to speak, but are you going to add to your team? Or do you have any? What's the future hold for you? Where do you want to go?
Well, I again, no one knows the future, besides, if you believe in God besides God. But I think the immediate future is scaling the team, just removing myself from a few of the roles that I feel like I need to be removed from. I've kind of paid my dues, like acquisitions. I've paid my dues there, which is why we are hiring some team members there. And then the immediate future is actually getting deeper into the markets we're in. We have some JV programs. I don't know if you guys have heard of I Speak to Lead. That's like they sell basically PPC leads. We're one of their JV partners in Florida. So all their leads that they don't end up selling in Florida, they come to us. And, we're in 2 other markets, basically the Charlotte MSA and the San Antonio MSA. Right now, we want to go deeper in those markets. Essentially, that means that we're going to employ more marketing channels. So that's in the near future, and then the real goal for me is to kind of like run this business from just like a spreadsheet where people are just giving me spreadsheets and I'm reading numbers and I can tell like if the business is doing good or not. Hopefully we get there by the end of this year. And then I can really focus on some of the multifamily stuff and get like really well versed and stuff and enter that space.
Now, you talked about bringing on an acquisition manager. For people that are looking to be a part of a team, what do you look for when you're looking to possibly bring someone on? Not that you'll fill someone that you might ideally have that role filled by the time this gets out on YouTube, but what do you look like, or what do you look for when you're looking for an acquisition friend?
Yeah, so one of the things we look for first is our culture. So it has to be a culture fit for us. We don't need sales experience really that much, but we look for stuff that might help them in sales, like, psychology and stuff. It's important that any application that we have has some answers that they answer through voice, so we can actually tell, like, if they can control their voice, because tonality is a huge part of acquisitions that we feel. But like, we're also not looking for people that want to go out and start their own business, because we want people that are going to be, wants that stability of a W-2, because it's not a contract job that we provide. It's a W-2 with a healthy base of $2,500 a month and benefits, plus commissions on the gross revenue. So we want someone who is like, hey, might want to pick up rentals down the line, but doesn't want to go out and start their own. So we weed them out, really.
Okay. Now, if people wanted to connect with you, what's the best way? Is it social media, Instagram, LinkedIn?
Yeah, I would say
Snapchat, MySpace.
I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. My name is the same on Instagram. You'll see my face. So it's Fires on Fire. I know it's don't judge me, guys. I did it when Instagram first came out.
Mr. Rodney Adams, you are on with Faizul Islam. What's your question?
What's up, Ronnie?
Are you purely just an acquisition set up with your company right now? Because you're not doing JVs. So
no. So I'll tell you what markets we're in. So we're in San Antonio and San Antonio surrounding markets, and we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the different counties. The real business is down in the counties, really. And we are entering all of Florida, not by choice, but because of our JV program, where we're just going to start getting a lot of leads. But we have marketing, acquisitions, and dispositions within the team. So we do all of that.
I want to thank you for being on. We had a little bit of glitch in the beginning, but I'm sure it's going to be okay. We're going to put it on YouTube anyway. And of course, we'll have you back and, hear more about what's going on with your new acquisitions manager. So if you guys are watching the YouTube video right now, please like the video on YouTube. Please put some comments down below. If you're on the call right now, hang on. We're going to go to breakout rooms, which are really, really great. And on behalf of Faizul and myself, I want to thank you guys for being with us today if you're on the call, and for watching the video if you're on YouTube, and say thank you so much, and look for more coming up from this guy, Mr. Faizul Islam, is knocking it out, and more videos coming up on Flipside with JJ. So Faizul, I guess we'll see you the next time, right?
Thank you for showing up, guys. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Over and out.